I am just baffled by this. So you could be an election observer, and often we hear that from officials, like, hey, if you're not don't trust our election process, then volunteer to be an election observer, and you can go in and you can watch where ballots are tallied and counted and the signature matching process, and do that, and maybe see for yourself. In fact, Joe Kent, he was on with us the other day, a candidate for Congress in the 3rd District, a Republican, and he encouraged his fans and voters who are concerned about the election process to do just that. So in Island County, there are some Republicans with the Island County Republican Party who said, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to go watch ballots be counted and tallied. So if we have any concerns, it's happening right in front of us. So they go in last Thursday and they are met with this sign: masks required in this room. Masks can be provided if you do not have one. So they were like, what? And I'm well past the stage of wanting to wear a mask, feeling like I need to wear a mask, or even being able to be pressured into wearing a mask. Like, I don't even own a mask. So I too would be flummoxed if I saw this sign. And so on the GOP side, for election observers, they didn't go in because they didn't want to be required to wear a mask to have to go in and observe what was happening with the ballots. So anyway, they go and they regroup kind of as a county Republican Party, have a conversation about it over the weekend. They're talking about it on social media, and they decide that they're going to go back on Monday and try to go in anyway and see what happens. So there's video now of a woman. She happens to be, she's volunteering to do this observing, but she is also a co-chair of the Island County Republican Party. So she walks in, and I'll share what she said on the back end, but she goes in on Monday, tries to go in to observe ballot counting. The police are already there waiting because they anticipate, because of chatter over the weekend, that this is going to become a problem. And I swear to God, in October of 2024, years removed from the pandemic, this woman was escorted out by 2 police officers for not wearing a mask. Here's the video.
I'm sorry you have to come to this.
Okay, I am too.
Okay, but I have to take a stand for people.
Okay. Well, you've been asked to leave. I appreciate you leaving on your own accord.
Well, I'm not leaving on my own accord here. You guys are escorting me out.
Okay, we are.
That is not leaving
Okay.
on my own accord here.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay.
That is just insane. So that's Tracy Abul. She's an Island County GOP precinct committee officer. And again, you heard her say there, like, I'm sorry it came to this. There's an officer, it seems like, in a sheriff's deputy. I'm sorry it came to this, but I have to take a stand. And for the record, I'm not leaving on my own accord. You're making me leave. I'm just not like physically resisting, right? So she explained what was happening to the center square like this. She said, I showed up on Friday. They said I had to wear a mask and I didn't want to go to jail for the weekend. So I contacted people and decided I would go back on Monday. I like that. Yeah, I don't want to sit in jail for the weekend. I'm not going to get a court hearing for that. So she says when she arrived back at election headquarters on Monday, it was clear others were ready for potential confrontation. Quote, when I got here on Monday, there were 3 police officers that came in because I guess they heard something about it, noting that the scenario felt like government overreach to her. She went on to say that she warned the police officers who were there that she would attempt to enter the observation area without a mask. She told the Center Square, I knew when I came in that's what they would do, claiming she wasn't trying to create any issues, but did want to make a point. It's simply unconstitutional as I see it to do this, she said. To me, this is election interference because even when the last recount was going on, all the Democrat observers were coming in with masks and Republicans didn't want to wear them, so there was no inclusion. So the concern there being that the Republicans didn't want to put a mask on, and so they weren't allowed to actually be in this room to observe the ballot counting, but the Democrats were more than willing to wear masks, and so they could be in the room to observe ballot counting, which sort of negates the point of having both sides be able to be in there so they feel like everything is above board. So this morning, the Island County Republican Party sent a cease and desist letter to Sheila Kreider. She's the Island County auditor, and this is apparently a decision she made to have there be a mask requirement for election observers. So they're giving her a few days to respond to their demand that she lift this requirement and allow everyone to be in there with or without a mask to observe what's happening with ballots behind the scenes. But to talk more about this today is Tim Hazelow. He is the chairman of the Island County Republican Party. Tim, welcome to Undivided.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you covering this for us in this little island county of ours.
Well, we're just ridiculous situation. I mean, there's so many elements to this. So first, was the party notified or did you know in advance of sending election observers that there would be a mask requirement?
No, not at all. Actually, so I work in a facility on the Navy base, so I can't have my phone. So I get out of my work at 2 p.m. on Thursday to a plethora of calls from observers saying that they were not allowed in to observe because of the mask mandate. And so then I started doing some homework on that, and here we are today with the letter that I sent you about us serving the cease and desist.
Yeah, so just a sequence of events. So this woman in particular, is she just a volunteered to go observe ballot counting?
Yeah, so we have some volunteers that volunteer every year. This lady that is in the video actually is our vice chair of the party. I'm the chairman of the Republican Party in Island County. She's the vice chair. So she's very active, and she's retired, so she can get out and do these things where the rest of us are still working. So she's really our spearhead on a lot of these things.
Yeah, and so the first day happens where they're told you can't come in without a mask. The video
Correct.
is actually she went back. I mean, kind of intentionally to
Yes.
make a stand. Is that what I'm seeing in that video?
Yeah, so when we talked on Thursday, basically our discussion was that we need to figure out what the legalities of it are. Can they do this? Can they not do this? We've decided that they cannot do this. We sent people again on Friday. They said no. So on Monday, we told her stay in there until they escort you out, because that gives us the precedence of saying, wait a minute, we're trying to do this the right way. We're here of our own accord as volunteers, First Amendment, want to watch the elections. And they called a sheriff and the county or the city marshal. That was we did that. And then today, based on that video, we were able to write and serve that cease and desist letter.
Yeah. So a few things here before we get to sort of next steps. I mean, look, the idea that just the visual of law enforcement bringing a lady out because she's not wearing a mask. I mean, I can tell those officers probably didn't want to be doing that, but at that point it's like a trespass issue, right? But help me understand, because I've never volunteered to go monitor like ballot counting or whatever. Help me understand the space that they're in and what is actually happening back there that they're monitoring. Because I'm trying to understand like the need for a mask.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is an enclosed space. The office, I would say, is probably 30 by 15, and there's tables set up in there where the workers that process the ballots. There's 2 workers at each table. They process the ballots. They basically the signatures are verified in one room, and the ballots are brought back to this room. In this room, they take the ballots out of the envelopes, and then they verify that the ballots are filled out correctly. If they're filled out correctly, they go in one pile. If there's something odd about the ballot, there's a write-in. Somebody voted for 2 candidates in one race. Somebody voted for the wrong person and corrected their ballot. Whatever it may be, if there's an oddity to the ballot, it goes into another stack. And then those ballots are counted, presented back to the office manager saying, this is how many we counted in this batch, and they're put on a shelf for actual processing through the electronic machine. And I don't know when the actual processing through the electronic machine happens, so I can't tell you anything about that. It looks like a pretty straightforward process. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Brandi, just right out of the get-go. I've been here for 30 years in Island County. Yeah. I've voted ever since I've been here. I've been voting my whole life. I know a lot of those people who are in there working as the people in the office, and I don't think they're doing anything nefarious. Yeah. I really think they're trying to do the best they can under the circumstances that have been presented to them. But the mask thing, preventing people from watching because of the mask, really gives an impression of trying to hide something. Whether it's there or not, whether they are or not, I don't think they are, but it gives that impression. It's a bad precedence, in my opinion.
Well, and so when this happened Thursday, Friday, I'm assuming the Democratic Party had volunteer people in there monitoring.
I was not here
for
the Thursday, but I would imagine so. And obviously most of those folks, and I'm not going to classify or say it's a good or a bad thing, but most of those folks don't have a problem wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And so I can see where that wouldn't have any effect on them whatsoever, good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, that's kind of the issue, right? Is if you've
Yeah.
got two sides that want to monitor how things are going, just in case, then one
Yeah.
side that is, very, not everyone, but I'm certainly as hell not going to put a mask on again,
Yeah,
so it's
no,
sort of like,
never again.
yeah. And so I won't say never again. I mean, but, probably not.
Yeah.
So I guess, from that perspective, making sure and having election observers in there is important, right? And obviously the Republican Party believes it's important. So given the gravity of that sort of job, why not just suck it up and say, put a mask on because we've got to monitor this?
Well, and if they, okay, it's kind of a principle thing at this point in time. Two things going on here. They're allowing us an accommodation, which means we can stand in the hallway and look through the door.
Okay.
With that being said,
So
the
stupid.
reality is it's not much worse of a space than sitting in the room. You can't see everything, but you can see enough to know that they're in there doing their job and processing the ballots. So we're going to go ahead and continue to have our observers there, even though they have to stand in the hallway. With that being said, though, they shouldn't have to. And that's where the true argument is. Now, our auditor, Sheila Kreider, apparently, and I've spoken to county officials here. Like I said, I've been here for 30 years. I know quite a few of them. Most of the elected officials here I know. And as you know, I ran for to be an elected official here. But most of them I spoke to didn't even know this was going on until this one elected official, the auditor, arbitrarily on her own made this decision. No health board inclusion, no. As far as we can tell so far, it was just Sheila and Sheila alone that made this decision. And I don't think she can do that, especially, I read the WAC. I think you saw in the video, there's a picture of what the WAC code, and I
The
can't
Washington
quote it to you,
Administrative Code,
but I
yeah.
read that, and I don't see anything in there that gives her the authority to do this particular thing.
Yeah, and it seems like she's kind of, for lack of a better phrase, on an island in doing this. We haven't heard of this happening in other county elections offices. We're going to reach out to King County today just because that seems like maybe the most likely, maybe a Thurston. I'm just going based on politics and stuff. So we'll find out. So you've delivered this letter then, this kind of cease and desist demand letter. What's your ask?
Well, I mean, the ask is just to remove that requirement. Here's the reality of this. Island County is a small little county, and they don't have the money to fight a suit if it were to come to that. I don't have the money to file a suit for what it's worth.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, exactly. I should not put that out there. But the reality is that I've gotten messages and phone calls from people who do have the money that might not even be in Island County that are willing to say, wait a minute, this is not right, and we can't let this stand. And then I'm going to be paying for the defense as a resident of Island County for this arbitrary decision made by this one person who I don't know why she makes the decision she makes. She actually hung up on my vice chair and one of my parliamentarians when they were questioning her about it yesterday. So it's just not a good look for Island County. And it can be fixed. And we want to give them the chance to fix it before it goes to any type of costly litigation.
Yeah, because I know the state GOP chair is very in tune with what's happening, and I would say that he'd be one of the people who would be stepping up to challenge it. And it does just seem very arbitrary. I mean, look, we're long past COVID and the emergency state of that. And if there are people who want to wear a mask, great. If they feel like, or if they are that scared of COVID, then don't be there. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but Tim, well, this is fascinating. Please keep us up to date on what happens, okay?
I will. I appreciate your time.
Craziness out of Island County. I mean, that's really, I'm flummoxed. But here's how the auditor explains it. Again, the Island County auditor, Sheila Kreider, who's now been hit with a cease and desist, told the Center Square the masking requirement came from Island County auditor Sheila Kreider, who told the Center Square that in the wake of a COVID-19 outbreak at the election center back in August, when election workers were conducting a recount in the lands commissioner race between Democratic candidate Dave Updegrove and Republican Sue Keel Peterson, several workers got sick. She said, we had 8 people that got sick. So now we're just ensuring everyone is kept safe as a precaution. So is the precaution legal? Is it necessary? Both very important questions. I fail to see how that would be legal, like absent some sort of order from maybe like the health department. I mean, and it's like I get it that she's saying, well, people got sick, but it seems incredibly arbitrary. And oh my God, for the love of God, like we're done with the masking thing. But but that's the thing is like, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But don't make other people wear a mask too. Or if you're that genuinely concerned about COVID-19, like don't be there. Don't be in a closed room with other people.